Welcome to NFL, where the NFL starts and ends. Miracle update for the story of Damar Hamlin. Over the last 72 or even 84 hours, you could say, Damar Hamlin was put in the hospital on Monday night, and towards the on Tuesday morning he was placed on a ventilator with 100% oxygen. Now, a mere 3 days after the incident, and that's what we'll call it, as we will discuss momentarily, the incident that caused the cardiac arrest that Damar Hamlin had. Hamlin, I am proud to announce that the NFL that Damar Hamlin, in fact, woke up on Wednesday evening, actually opened his eyes, and was able to speak. He was appreciative, and the family was appreciative of the medical care done in the University of Cincinnati's Medical Center. In fact, just about an hour ago, we got news that Damar Hamlin was actually holding hands of his loved ones and was actually being able to grip. In fact, about 2.5 hours ago, we got the fact that it was a remarkable improvement and remarkable progress that he was able to open his eyes, grip, and was talking and seemed neurologically all there, which is a big step as much as you don't think it is. This is a guy who had CPR for anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. That's a long time, especially with I know some of the players that in other leagues in baseball and hockey and other things like that have said that it's immediate. Like when I was talking to my doctor about it, he said it's immediate. If that injury happens, you're immediately in cardiac arrest. Where in other injuries, if you do have cardiac arrest, it's not a prolonged, but there's a much longer waiting period before you go into cardiac arrest. This, it's immediate. It's like as soon as that happens, your body starts to shut down. And so we were literally seeing someone physically die on the field. And a great job by the medical staffs to go and be able to save him and get him in the hospital and do all these things. That was a great thing for Damar Hamlin. But I do want to push this, that the media, specifically Bart Scott, Skip Bayless, and a couple others, I think have dealt with the situation very poorly. And I only saw this last night, so I could not show this before the show. Yesterday, ESPN's Bart Scott was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith, who I don't care for Stephen A. Smith, but I know he's playing a character. But I'm telling you this, Bart Scott went and said it was T. Higgins' fault. What? How is it T. Higgins' fault? He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything wrong. And you said, well, he led with his helmet. No, he didn't. You can tell if you watch the video, as gruesome as it is, if you just watch the hit, you can see T. Higgins. Yes, he leans forward because he's running. Everyone leans forward to run a little bit. That's what happens. But he shows that he hits him with his shoulder. It was just a freak accident, which a lot of NFL players, including Micah Parsons, went and said, we on television, yet they don't know what they're talking about. It was a freak accident. It happens. Like, you can't say it was T. Higgins' fault. You can actually see the emotion that T. Higgins had after the game as his mother and him were, like, holding on together because, like, he couldn't deal with it. It was such an emotional thing because and I remember T. Higgins had talked about this a long time ago about how when he does that, it's because it's things he can't really deal with on his own, so therefore he asks for support from his mother, which is understandable, we all do this. But this, you could obviously see there's a distraught player in T. Higgins, and yet you're gonna blame it on T. Higgins. Like, I can't imagine what T. Higgins is feeling right now, I can't. I don't know what he's feeling, and to be honest with you, to know that Damar Hamlin has woken up and Damar Hamlin is able to talk and is able to not be paralyzed, at least from the top part of his body, that's a true miracle in itself. But that's what Bud Scott was saying. It was T. Higgins' fault. It didn't make any sense. And that's why a lot of players went to the defense, including the Hamlin family, who went to the defense of T. Higgins, because that's not T. Higgins' fault. He did everything that he's taught to do. I don't know what you want him to do. Remember, I told you this stat yesterday morning. I said a cardiologist said that that's a 1 in 264 million chance that that injury transpires. Like you could have never known. And the fact that Bud Scott said, well, he had to get up because he had to prove that he didn't get hit and stuff. It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Well, it's seen with more linebackers. A running back hits us in the chest and we're exposed. It's like, sure, but that's not what happened here. He didn't hit him with his helmet. He didn't hit him with the crown of his helmet. He didn't lean with his helmet in any way. He hit him with his shoulder. It was a freak accident. But a great job, nonetheless, of players going in the defense of T. Higgins, saying, "Look, we are all shooken up by that. We are, but we're understand it was an accident. It was an accident and an incident. It wasn't expected to happen. It it just happened. It's just sometimes those things happen. I bet you T. Higgins feels one way about like he feels sorry and he doesn't feel very good. He feels guilty in a way, which he shouldn't. He shouldn't feel guilty, but he probably does. But when you have Bud Scott go and say that on television and not understanding what the NFL is going through, that's a big thing, and that I think shouldn't be displaced. That person, that Bud Scott should not have been able to say that, or should have at least apologized for it, which he hasn't. Another person who's gotten a lot of flack is Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless sent out a tweet, and it was a lot of people took it the wrong way, including me. I took it the wrong way. It was a convoluted tweet. It was very convoluted, very misworded. It was not worded properly. And I understand he thought that this game had a lot of impact, and it did on the playoffs and who was going to be the number one seed, and like it obviously did and does. But it's not because of him, okay? It's not. It's not because of that. But he got a lot of media flack, and a lot of people despised him for saying those things. And I do too. Then he put out another tweet trying to say, well, obviously safety. Obviously, the only thing we should be worried about is Damar Hamlin, which I agree with. but it made Skip's partner, Shannon Sharpe, not show up to the show the next morning, and on Wednesday morning, a minute and a half into the show, Shannon Sharpe has a monologue talking about why he wasn't there. And this is where I go sideways with Skip Bayless. I I don't agree with the original tweet. This is where I go sideways with him. And this is where we immediately go off the rails. We were probably a little sideways when this tweet happened. We were getting back on the track with the second tweet. It was this. And I'm not gonna play this, but I have it pretty much in my mind of what happened. Shannon said I did not agree with the tweet that Skip Bayless had. Now, Skip Bayless did not know this was coming up. He did not know this was gonna be on the show, especially in the first minute. He didn't know this. At least I don't think he did. And if he did, he played it off very well to the point of everyone. He's like, I'm not doing it. But what he said was, Shannon said, I did not agree with the tweet that Skip Bayless posted. I'm hoping that Skip deletes the tweet and we can move on. That's what he was trying to say in this opening monologue. Skip, immediately after hearing the words, I hope he deletes the tweet, and after those words, Skip interrupts Shannon's monologue, and says, well, I'm not going to delete it because I believe in what I said. Which which made Shannon extremely unhappy to hear that. And this is again where you have television mixed with journalism. And there's a problem with this. Because then Skip goes and says, no one over here said I had to apologize for it, said I had to take it down, but you. So this is now turned from professionalism to personal. It's not professional anymore. And yet, this happened on live television. Everyone's like, well, this will be the end. I, I don't think that. What I do think is this. You gotta be all on the same page. If you don't like something, you discuss it privately. But for Skip Bayless to go and be like, well, I don't agree with what you're saying in your monologue, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like, I'll try to explain it this way. Back in probably about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if you had children, other people could say, "Hey, don't do that. Don't do that." And the kid wouldn't do it anymore. Or would, and it was talked about even louder and even louder. Now, if you have a kid and it's not your kid, but that kid's doing something like throwing rocks at someone's car or getting closer to the road or climbing the utility poles, you can't say anything. You kinda have to be like, he's climbing up the utility pole, or he's throwing rocks at cars, or he's getting closer and closer to the road, and just hoping someone does something about it. Because that's all you can do now. This is the same point. You can't say anything. Or FS1 has refused to say anything to Skip. Because this is a couple times where this has happened, and Skip has gotten away clean. Like, the kid saying is by the skin of your teeth. Skip isn't even getting skinned by his teeth at this point. He's getting just walking through at this point. And so I understand why Shannon was upset. Should it have been done privately? Absolutely. But the network should feel ashamed because Skip Bayless attacked many people and many others about mental health issues, race, weight, um, whether or not they were straight or gay, religion, and others. But those are the ones I can name. And if someone's an alcoholic or not, even though they might not be, like, and yet he's attacked that and said to himself that this is normal. And FS1 says, well, we don't want to do anything to make him mad, so let's just give him a raise. It's FS1's fault for allowing this to go on air, but it's also FS1's fault for not dealing with the situation at hand.